Hi, I'm Linda Mao, and welcome to Art This Week. On this week's episode, we visit the Meadows Museum and speak with the artist John Alexander about his exhibition, The Ridiculous and Sublime, Recent Works by John Alexander. Now for Art This Week.
So, John, thanks so much for coming here today to talk about your exhibition. I really appreciate you being here.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's it's kind of a shocking experience to walk into the room, having not been here for several months, and all the frenzy that went around putting it up and getting it together, and then this enormous opening and all the pressure of all that, and then I left, and now to come back months later and walk in, it's an incredible shock to the system, but a wonderful kind of experience to see the work again. And it's almost like I never left. It's all still in the same place.
Well, your work never left, so in a sense you've left a trace of yourself maybe, and that's how you feel coming back. It's all ready for you.
It's funny in the context of where it is, with the Goyas in the background, and Goya being my favorite painter, or certainly one of my favorite painters, and also one of the great influences on me throughout my career. I would certainly never be so pretentious as to compare myself to Goya, but just seeing how his work has had an effect on me, and now having this show in its place in this museum, I've had dozens of young people and students and older people of all types text me, email me, and tell me how much the work has influenced them, or what an effect it's had on their lives and art life, etc. And it made me feel very good to think that the work is here. Mm-hmm. I can be in New York or dead, and the work is here. It'll always be here, and it will hopefully affect people for many, many years to come.
Maybe the first question I would ask actually was with the title, and I don't usually ask about the title, but I was curious, Human Nature, The Ridiculous and Sublime, whether you chose that title, and if you did, how you perhaps thought that would help people read the work, or if you didn't, if you feel okay with that as an entrance point.
Well, I didn't choose the title. I certainly choose the titles of all my paintings. The curator here chose the title. I approved the title because I thought it was kind of interesting. I think that it really encompasses what I tried to be as an artist, which is, there was an article about me once in the Los Angeles paper years ago that said that I painted nature at its grandest and man at his worst. Mm-hmm. And I've always felt like that was a great summation of what I've tried to do as an artist, or have done as an artist. And this show goes from the ridiculous, these crazed fools in this boat, mm-hmm. to the sublime, which is something as beautiful as these sacred ibises, mm-hmm. standing there with all this dignity of the king, or of some great, world leader. There are these two beautiful birds that to me represent this magnificent kind of statement about the dignity of the animal life in general, and mm-hmm. nature in general.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask, with both of these paintings that are dealing with depictions of various different moments that you might have been thinking about. I know the golf course and the wildlife reserve in Florida was one of the reasons why the painting of the owls came about.
Yes.
Is that right? And then I'm thinking with a picture like this that seems to have more of a connotation with what's going on in history, as far as with big political leaders or priests, or those that have the power of resources, for example, oil, that you're also looking at corruption and control. I'm wondering...
So you explained with all those different words the entire history of what I've tried to do as an artist is encompass all of that. I try very hard in my figurative work to not make them about a specific person. It would be very easy to paint a picture of, a specific political figure today, and there are plenty that you can make fun of, or satirize, or be used as subject matter in many ways. But if you be specific about a particular individual, then the painting's not universal. It becomes about that person. And I would rather try to create images based on those people as my point of departure, and then try to create a painting that is universal. So if this painting was hanging in Mexico City or in Madrid, it would still resonate with whoever was looking at it, because they could put whoever they wanted to in the boat, as opposed to having recognizable. And also, this could be painted 100 years ago, or it could be painted today, in terms of those kind of people have existed throughout time. And unfortunately, they will continue to exist. The thing is, we just have to look at them, be conscious of them, and sometimes deal with it by at least getting to laugh at them.
Right, and that actually leads me to my question. There's a phrase, you laugh or you cry, and then I think about gallows humor that you often see in the medical profession and in the police profession as a way of dealing with the absurd tragedy that they see every day. And I wonder how much you're using gallows humor or satire as a way to allow us to discuss something that's actually rather frightening through laughing.
Well, there is no question that in my work that I hope it many times to have a satirical element in it, the figurative work at least, and even in the landscape sometime. I mean, a tree full of monkeys, there's something rather humorous about it. Now, there's something engaging, I hope, about the fact that each monkey is looking in a different direction slightly, but yet they're all looking at you. And there's hopefully a connection between the monkeys and their peril, whatever that might be, and your peril as a person. And the same thing in these pictures. This picture, there's, to me, a very poignant political statement about greed and money and avarice and thuggery and corruption, and most importantly, hypocrisy. And we see that. I'm just set off like a bottle rocket by hypocrisy. That kind of hypocrisy, it makes me crazy. You have plenty of reasons to be mad all the time, and I try to live my life without being just this cranky, angry old man. My assistants and my wife and my son, they work on me all the time to try to, not be that grumpy old man. So that's another reason to try to find a way to put humor in it, so that at least you can laugh at them and yourself. So because I am a grumpy old man, and I can put myself in that boat too.
It's interesting to talk about a lot of the paintings that you've done where the location and the animals have a relationship to human beings and are input that's changed the course of their lives as a species.
Well, I have a almost obsessive concern for environmental things. And if you've been around as long as I have, I grew up in Texas in the late 40s and 50s, and it was a different environment in terms of the natural world. And since I was a kid, my entire life I've watched slowly but surely the environment change and shrink for the natural world. And we make a gain here where a park is preserved, or you make a gain there where some parcel of land is set aside for preservation. But at the same time, you save 1,000 acres here or 5,000 acres there, 50,000 acres disappear. So it's a lost cause, really. It's a terribly sad thing to me to say this, but there's no way that the the world of the natural world of birds and rare and endangered animals, etc. There's no way that they're going to survive. That's just, you can prolong it, but it's like it's like watching a loved one die a slow death of a horrible disease. You may get 5 more years for their life, or you may get 5 more months, but they're going to die. And that's the way I feel about the environment. It's, you make progress here, then then all of a sudden you find out that this horrible thing happened over there that's much worse. So it's a losing battle, but you have to keep fighting.
And the stories also behind some of the work is quite poignant as far as how you get to them. I was very interested by the horrible irony that you go to a wildlife reserve in Florida and there's hardly any birds to see, and the fish are poisonous to eat, and yet you then go to a golf course where everything's manicured and handmade by human beings in this artificial context, and that's where the birds end up being kind of squashed together. And how maybe this piece is, the dark background is a rather kind of ominous, almost foreboding space, and then the glowing owls that are all looking out at us as if we owe them something, perhaps, that, there's a responsibility when I look at this, that they're asking something of me, and.
Well, that's a really touching and moving thing that you just said, because that is exactly what I'm trying to say with that picture. In the 19th century, especially after the Civil War, American landscape painting, which was painting in general in America after the Civil War, was deeply affected by the horrors of the war. And there's a wonderful show that was done by Eleanor Harvey at the Smithsonian, and then it went to the Met, about the Civil War's effect on American art. And there was a sense of foreboding and doom, and the paintings, what we look at in museums now, people take for granted, like, oh, isn't that a beautiful painting by so-and-so, but that big storm coming, but there's an absence of people, there's a sense of impending doom, etc., in some of those great landscapes. And the use of clouds and storm and the absence of life in them and so forth, that was done for a reason. There was a very thought out process there in which the painting had the message. And to me, the dark, stormy skies and the rather gloomy kind of environment, the dark and ponderous, weird environment that they're in, was done very consciously. And they're staring, this kind of stare, like a lot of times in my landscape paintings with people, with the birds and stuff, sometimes I want them to they take on a human-like quality, but I work very hard to make the connection between the animal and bird life and you as a viewer. Like, it's looking at you and you're looking at it, and then there can hopefully, if there's a connection there, then it's like, well, what is going on here? But almost universally, people who write about or talk about these kind of paintings talk about that impending doom, which is obviously, I talk about it too, because it's something I passionately care about.
We want to thank John for speaking with us. For more information on the exhibition, go to meadowsmuseumdallas.org. That's it for Art This Week. Thanks for watching.
I still got your Polaroid.